A simple life. Okay, so guys, today I'm on the red team. This is probably gonna be a little boring, but yeah, I'm pretty much still new doing live streams, so basically you don't need to judge. I mean, you basically can, but try leaving it nice. Basically, it doesn't matter. I mean, kind of does. Okay, I never played this before, so it's this changing bottles. Give me some XP. Okay. Candyland. The heck was that noise? Wait. I'm so sorry. I'm bad at making a boat. Or, I mean, bow. Not a boat. That would be weird. I'm gonna take you. Oh.
mistakes, but the future keeps luring in like a pack of snakes. Your sweet little eyes, your little smile is all I remember. Those fuzzy memories mess with my temper. Justification is killing me, but killing isn't justified. What happened to my soul? I'm terrified. It lingers in my mind and the thought keeps on getting bigger. I'm sorry, must be, baby, I wish I'd been there. It's been so long since I've seen our soul lost to this monster, to the man behind the slaughter. Since
am Claire, your orbit driver.
I am Carl.
Thanks, Sister Location. You just made my job so much harder. Is Ennard like the walking incarnation of how tangled the FNAF storyline is? Because seriously, this is pretty much what the timeline looks like to everyone. Just a big, fat, nope. But that's why I'm here. I've been working very hard to try and untangle this story so we can all start to understand it. Now, I'm not claiming to have solved FNAF. Even in a lifetime, I don't think I could claim something like that. But at one point in time, Scott did say all the questions we have about these games can be answered. And in this series, I will be answering all of those questions you've been asking, alongside a complete timeline. Just as a warning, all the years that are mentioned in this theory are estimates and could be slightly off. Without any further ado, let's jump right into the timeline, where it all began, Fredbear's Family Diner, in 1975. We still don't know much about Fredbear's. In fact, this is the only little bit of it we get to see. On the stage stands two golden animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. From what we know, golden animatronics are used as suits for employees to entertain with. They also double as animatronics that don't require a human to operate. In FNAF 3, we see someone entering a golden suit, along with FNAF 4. Inside of the Spring Bonnie animatronic is a man named William Afton. William is one of the main characters of Five Nights at Freddy's. He's a brilliant man when it comes to robotics. In fact, it's likely William is the inventor of these Springlock suits, since he owns Afton Robotics, and probably runs it himself. The job was great for supporting his small family, which included his wife and his son Michael, who was around the age of 5. Michael was the black sheep of the family, though. The TV show you watch at the end of every night in Sister Location is an analogy to William's real family situation. Him and his wife got into a huge fight when William claimed that his wife actually had an illegitimate child. It's very likely this is not the case at all, since later on Michael is confused to be his father, so their appearances must be similar. Exactly like how the TV show makes it obvious to the audience that the baby is his.
Clara, I tell you, the baby isn't mine!
Count, I tell you that it is. You're the only vampire I've ever loved. And the baby turns his bottles into powdered milk.
That doesn't mean anything!
He sleeps on the ceiling fan.
Upright or upside down?
What does it matter? You need to be part of your son's life.
Despite that, William is very angry with his wife. They end up staying together though, but Michael was treated poorly by his dad, like an outcast. He was given his mother's last name, not his father's, which was Schmidt. At William's new job, a child goes missing, as shown in this minigame. Although we have no real proof that William is the kidnapper, his future track record makes it very likely he is the kidnapper. Not only a kidnapper, but a murderer, as we can see the spirit of that missing child still stuck at that location, restless. This is most likely the reason why this restaurant was shut down. Somewhere around 1977, a new restaurant was opened by Fazbear Entertainment, the same company that once owned Fredbear's. With the new start, this restaurant began getting popular and was very successful. Spring Bonnie never made the cut and was left at the empty and abandoned Fredbear's Family Diner. This is because the suit was tied to the previous kidnapping, and Fazbear Entertainment no longer wanted to be associated with that one bit. They didn't catch William, but they did know which suit was used. William was still a very important part of the company, since he was the mechanic and the inventor. During the opening of this restaurant, Fazbear Entertainment hired another character most of us know as Phone Guy. He worked as a security guard, something they needed in the last failed business. During this prosperous time, William's wife had 2 more children, a girl and a boy. William loved his kids and tried his best to protect them. They grew up going to Freddy's quite regularly and loved the characters there. The characters at this establishment include Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Fredbear, and the puppet. In the mini-games of this location, we can see a pink figure, which we know to be William Afton. But then, there's the question as to why is William pink? This explanation will sound crazy, but later events we'll see in the timeline will back this up. William, being the brilliant man he is with robotics, was able to discover a way to make himself immortal through the use of his inventions. A downside to this is that it caused skin to rot over time. William kidnaps children and uses them for his work, in ways we still aren't really sure of entirely. We'll be going into that a bit more in the future, but we do know for a fact that these kids end up dead. The first few kids that disappear in Freddy's are a group of 5 children seen in this minigame. One minute the kids are there, the next, they're gone. And Pink Guy is on the scene. He had hid their bodies inside of the animatronics. All that's left is the wandering spirits. Not long after, William takes another victim, this time outside the restaurant, possibly hiding the body in his trunk. But William is caught by his own wife. She sees this one occur, or finds out about it. She becomes furious and possibly confronts him about it. In the end, she doesn't make it out alive. It's likely William felt he had no choice but to silence her and hide her death from his children. His wife becomes an extremely restless spirit, leaving behind her children and finding out her husband was nothing like she'd thought. She decides to get revenge on her former husband and possesses the puppet, who in turn wakes up the spirits inside of the animatronics to also get their revenge against William. Once again, the TV show and sister location parallels this in the title. The Restless referring to the wife, and Immortal referring to William, and later on Michael. Not long after the kids were killed, the restaurant was threatened to have the place shut down because of the stench of the animatronics. Before they had to be forcibly closed, Fazbear shut it down themselves, demanding William to fix the animatronics, which was one of his duties. He removed the bodies, but even with them gone, they were still far from perfect. Before Freddy's was closed, William had been working very hard at his more improved Springluck suits that used faceplates. We can't be certain which animatronics were finished at this point, but we do know of one, Spring Chica. After her completion, Fazbear Entertainment agreed to let William Afton open up his own sister location. This sister location, owned by William, was named Chica's Party World, where Spring Chica took the lead. Along with Spring Chica, it's likely the original Ennard character had a body and was used as a spring suit, and Chica had carried around the golden cupcake, which is seen in FNAF 3. Other characters could have been used here as well, but we can't be sure. It's very likely 5 more children were killed here as well, with one of them becoming restless. The FNAF 3 minigame that shows Chica's Party World has a hidden screen where 5 crying childlike cupcakes sit in shadows. Only one of them moves though. This is the restless spirit that cannot pass on. During this time, William opens another location. That or this was a room or area in another location, known as BB's Air Adventure. Here 2 characters were the main entertainment, Balloon Boy and JJ. 4 more children died here, one of them becoming restless and possessing the JJ animatronic. William stored the old characters from Chica's Party World in his underground workshop after it had closed, as well as Balloon Boy and JJ. After Freddy's has closed and Chica's Party World had as well, another sister location is preparing to open by William around 1982. This one was called Circus Baby's Pizza World. The new animatronics there included Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, and Funtime Freddy. These animatronics were not spring suits. Those had been retired. These animatronics were extremely advanced, and the public was amazed by them. In the beginning of the sister location game, we can hear an interview that William had about his new characters, focusing on Circus Baby, the star of the location.
There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those.
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
The interviewer is very interested in some of Baby's and the other characters' strange design choices. As seen in the blueprints later on in the game, we can see what he's talking about. On Funtime Freddy's blueprints, he is listed as having parental tracking, voice mimic, also stated as luring, and a storage tank. And in the blueprints, we can see what seems to be the shape of a child in the storage tank area. It's very easy to assume that Funtime Freddy was built for the purpose of kidnapping children, by luring them to him when their parents aren't around, and placing them in his storage tank. As for Baby, she works alongside Ballora as a team effort to do the same. Ballora's purpose is to deter and misdirect, as for the purpose of keeping most children distracted. While Baby has an internal ice cream dispenser that she will use once her room is empty, with only one child inside so there can be no witnesses. Baby admits to us that she counts the people in her room, and we see Baby's ice cream kidnapping in action during this minigame. It's very obvious that these animatronics were built to kidnap. During the grand opening of this new restaurant, William's young daughter finds her way into Baby's room when no one else was there, despite William's warnings for her to stay away.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? Daddy, you let the other children go see her. Why won't you let me go? Daddy, just once let me go play with her. She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me? Daddy, she can make balloons! Have you seen her make balloons? Oh, Daddy, let me go to her. Daddy isn't watching.
And with that, the incident occurs. Baby will tell us firsthand what happened.
Did you know that I was on stage once? It wasn't for very long, only one day. What a wonderful day, though. I was in a small room with balloons and a few tables. No one sat at the tables, though, but children would run in and out. Some were afraid of me, others enjoyed my songs. Music was always coming from somewhere else, down a hall. I would always count the children. I'm not sure why. I was always acutely aware of how many there were in the room with me. 2, then 3, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 2, then none. They usually played together in groups of 2 or 3. I was covered in glitter. I smelled like birthday cake. There were 2, then 3, then 5, then 4. I can do something special. Did you know that? I can make ice cream. Although I only did it once. There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Something happened when there was 1. A little girl standing by herself. I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least, not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. Then other children rushed in again, but they couldn't hear her over the sounds of their own excitement. I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
Since Baby only ever kidnapped one child, we can assume that this cutscene is the exact kidnapping, and this is William's daughter. Since Baby does not have a storage tank like Funtime Freddy, it's likely that any child kidnapped by Baby is crushed and killed. Once William found out what had happened to his daughter, he immediately faked a gas leak to make everyone evacuate the building. Here's an article found on Scott's website when teasing the game. In other news, the grand opening of Circus Baby's Pizza World has apparently been cancelled due to the reported gas leaks in the building. Sources close to the establishment question the report, saying that strange activity around the area at night suggests something else is to blame. One local is quoted as saying, "Everything just stopped. There was so much excitement built around the place opening, and then they just stopped talking about it. There was only a handful of people that ever got a look at the inside. Kids from here and there, making sure everything worked right, you know? I guess they weren't quite as ready as they thought they were." A tenant from across the street claims to have witnessed a large group of cars surrounding the building during the night, and large pieces of equipment being taken out of the building under tarps. A few weeks later, the building was for sale. There is no comment yet from the local entrepreneur who financed the venture. From this, we could see that William completely quit on this new restaurant after the death of his child. He removed everything into the underground facility, which became Circus Baby's entertainment and rental. From there, the animatronics from Circus Babies were rented out for birthday parties. During this time, William began his next venture, with animatronics that wouldn't do the kidnapping. Instead, he made human operable animatronics like before, spring-lock suits. He opened another sister location for Fazbear Entertainment in 1983, this one being quite small and near his home in the underground facility. It's unknown what this restaurant was called. It housed only 2 full-time animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. This was just a small business. William had a lot of other work going on as well. During this same time as William's new restaurant, Fazbear Entertainment had prepared a new Freddy Fazbear's restaurant. They returned with the classic animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Fredbear. Fazbear Entertainment even made a new cartoon called Fredbear and Friends. This crew didn't last too long though. Soon it became apparent that Foxy was far too scary and glitchy for the children. So a new character was made, named Funtime Foxy, based off of the Funtime Foxy character that could be rented. Along with Funtime Foxy, Balloon Boy and the Puppet were added from the older locations. We know that this location was open and only included these characters by looking at the children's drawings in FNAF 2. The papers all say, "My day at the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza." These drawings do not contain the toy animatronics or Foxy. They only include Funtime Foxy being taken apart, the Puppet, Balloon Boy, pre-withered Chica, Freddy, Bonnie, and Fredbear. This tells us that the pre-withered animatronics were in a new location, along with 3 other characters. William began working to make the old animatronics more advanced, but his work was halted when the restaurant was threatened again with a shutdown over sanitation, as seen in this newspaper. Local pizzeria Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been threatened again with the shutdown by the health department over reports of foul odor coming from the much-loved animal mascots. Police were contacted when parents reportedly noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and the mouths of the mascots. One of the parents likened them to reanimated corpses. After that, it was decided that those animatronics were basically unusable and were placed in the back room. Since those characters could no longer be used, they got new Springlock characters from William that matched the ones at his sister location, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. They also had Funtime Foxy, who was already known as the Mangle, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. This is the first known location where training tapes were made, 2 of which can be heard in FNAF 3.
Hello? Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. These tapes will provide you with much-needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Right now we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please pay close attention while learning how to operate these suits, as accidents/injuries/deaths/irreparable and grotesque maimings can occur. First, we will discuss how to operate the mascots when they are in animatronic form. For ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound cues. This is an easy and hands-free approach to making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment/crowd-pleasing value. To change the animatronics to suit mode, insert and turn firmly the hand crank provided by the manufacturer. Turning the crank will recoil and compress the animatronic parts around the sides of the suit, providing room to climb inside. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic devices remain fixed. We will cover this in more detail in tomorrow's session. Remember to smile, you are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Hello. For today's lesson, we will be continuing our training on proper suit handling techniques. When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring locks located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak. Try not to nudge or press against any of the spring locks inside the suit. Do not touch the spring locks at any time. Do not breathe on the spring locks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose. In the case that the spring locks come loose while you are wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out, as to not ruin the customer experience. As always, if there is ever an emergency, please go to the designated safe room. Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layouts programmed into the animatronics or security system. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's teeth.
Back at William's sister location, things for his young son are getting much worse. After the horrific death of his young daughter, William tried his best to protect his last beloved child. William may be a murderer, but his son and daughter were very important to him. He loved them. He didn't want to lose his son to his creations like his daughter, so he taught him that the animatronics are something to be feared. He set up 2 of his above-ground buildings to teach his son how to keep the animatronics away. Learning to use the animatronics' weakness of flashes of light, learning survival skills against them, even though these were merely hallucinations and harmless robotics made to look terrifying. The nightmares are most likely not exactly what we see them as in FNAF 4. Remember what Scott told us? What is seen in the shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. The hallucinations of flowers and the IV are most likely him remembering what it was like to lose his sister. Horrifying reminders that if he wasn't careful, the animatronics could do that to him too. The hallucinations were most likely induced by the gas in these tanks found in the underground area nearby. In the private room and sister location, we can also see the kid's bedroom and the hallway in these monitors, where William was probably controlling the simulations. We also see the Fredbear plush that would talk to the kid throughout FNAF 4. William would talk through it to his son, to make him do what he wants, think what he wants, and sometimes be comforted. Here, William is talking through Fredbear to his son, telling him to leave the restaurant immediately. Notice how he says, "Remember what you saw?" It's possible he's referring to his sister's death, or even something else entirely. The home we see the child in during the minigames is his actual home, right beside his dad's new restaurant. In this home, we can see his sister's old bedroom as well. Then there's his so-called older brother, who is most likely supposed to represent Mike, or Michael, but actually isn't. In fact, he's not even a real person. Remember how earlier I told you how William was able to make himself immortal through the robotics? There's also something else William can do with them as well. He can insert the robotics into a human body, as if he was going to immortalize them like he did himself, but he can make it so the robot AI takes complete control. In other words, he can control human bodies with his robotics. That is what this phony Michael is. It's just another Fredbear plush, a puppet that William controls. The purpose of this controlled older brother is to make the little boy grow to hate and fear Mike. As we all know, William doesn't care for his oldest son at all. The reason he wears the foxy mask the entire time is that the little boy would surely realize this person wasn't his brother once he sees his face. Plus, it adds to the fear of animatronics. Sounds far-fetched, right? Well, listen to this. Take a look at this image. Early on in the minigames, we can see that Mike has paler skin and black eyes, but later on it darkens and his eyes turn white. We've seen this type of change before, from William being pink with dark eyes to later being purple with white ones. And the sister location cutscene, showing that over time the body changes to dark purple and the eyes turn white. These all occur because of the robotics inside of the body. This proves that this kid is not human, which brings us to these other 3 children, who are all not human as well, hiding in plain sight under their masks. Children that William kidnapped and turned into his puppets. William planned for his son's birthday to be the worst day of his life, bullied all day by these masked puppets. But something went wrong. Very wrong. William didn't plan for this day to be his son's last day of his life. The robot children went too far in order to scare the child. William had accidentally killed both of his beloved children with his dangerous and unstable creations. Now you may be wondering, why wasn't William monitoring this and realizing the danger? He should have been able to save his son. I think this portion of a phone call can explain for us.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures...
Hear that? Multiple. In other words, another failure was happening at this time. I think it's most likely that this day, since we never seen a Fredbear entertainer out, he was probably getting suited up, with William helping him into it, just like we had seen before. William was preoccupied when his son was chomped. When the incident occurred and William was drawn out into the commotion, he made a plan. Covering his tracks once again, William decided he would blame the animatronic for his son's death, putting the blame into the fact that the suit was a spring-lock suit. Going back into the room alone with the entertainer, William set off the spring locks and killed the man, making it seem like spring-lock suits are to blame for everything that happened that day. After the child had passed, we get a glimpse of what had happened to him. He hears his mother's voice saying, "I will put you back together." In other words, the child's spirit does not pass on, and becomes the entity known as Shadow Freddy. A character only rarely seen sometimes in FNAF 2, sitting in the back room, alone and scared. He's one of the only characters in the game that does not harm the security guard. After the springlock incidents at William's sister location, it closed its doors for good. William began focusing his work back at Freddy's, no longer interested in pursuing locations of his own. Freddy's immediately made a new training tape for the employees, covering the new changes.
Hello? There's been a slight change of company policy concerning use of the suit. Don't. After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees. Safety is top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technicians. Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected. I repeat, the classic suits are not to be touched, activated, or worn. That being said, we are free of liability. Do as you wish. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
For the time being, the location only used temporary suits, along with Mangle, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. A few years after the springlock suits were put aside, William begins stirring up trouble at Freddy's.
Hello? This is just a reminder of company policy concerning the safe room. The safe room is reserved for equipment and or other property not being currently used and as a backup safety location for employees only. This is not a break room. It should not be considered a place for employees to hide and or congregate. And under no circumstance should a customer ever be taken into this room and out of the main show area. Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved and would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstances. Thank you, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Now that William is working for a restaurant rather than running it, he isn't allowed to do whatever he wants, and is being called out for it. Here is my explanation as to why this training tape was made. It's likely an employee of Freddy's seen another employee, William, who was most likely working at the restaurant at the time, repairing the spring suits and helping with costume changes, taking a child into the safe room. William was wearing the retired Spring Bonnie suit in order to lure the child away. Before William had the chance to do anything incriminating, he was caught, and management was told that an employee was bringing someone into the safe room. Upon investigating this, management could see that Spring Bonnie had been worn. Out of frustration and anger toward that tattletale employee, William seeks his revenge against him. He convinces that employee to follow him inside the safe room. There, he stabs the man, or renders him helpless, and shoves him into the Spring Bonnie suit, setting it off with him inside. As we all know, there are no cameras in the safe room, so it was an easy place to get away with something like this. The next call helps us understand what happened soon after.
This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Work crews will be here most of the day today, constructing a false wall over the old door face. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives. Thanks again, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
As soon as management hears about a body being found in the suit in the back room, they make a plan. A plan to hide the body away. Instead of shutting down the restaurant, contacting the police, and allowing investigations to begin, they decide to hide it entirely. They didn't want any more bad media, any more closed restaurants, any more mistrust in their beloved characters. It's likely they believed that this was an accident, another Springlock failure. It was easier for them to just pretend they didn't know the incident occurred. And since the safe room was built without cameras, it was becoming more of a danger to have them left open. So they sealed the room, with Spring Bonnie, Spring Fredbear, and the body still inside, unwittingly helping a murderer get away with the crime. The old Fredbear spring suit was still kept in the back room, since that one never really seemed to have issues, something they would later regret. This incident is what brought the mysterious Shadow Bonnie to life, a character only rarely seen in FNAF 2. When he appears, he crashes your game. After this, Fazbear Entertainment no longer associated itself with Afton Robotics, and a different and unknown company took over the care and production of animatronics. Since William was out of job, he took a normal one at Freddy's. Around early 1987, or late 1986, Freddy's was preparing for a big reopening with new characters, as the new production company had finished a new line of animatronics, the toy animatronics. These characters were a mix of various previous characters that Fazbear Entertainment owned, almost entirely built off of old designs. Toy Chica was based off of Spring Chica, so her beak was removable. These animatronics were complete with facial recognition systems that could draw in more parents and also scare away potential threats. These new characters were a great selling point for the company. They drew in the numbers they needed once again. During the summer of 1987, Phone Guy began making training tapes for the night shift security guards.
Hello? Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'm here to talk you through some of the things you can expect to see during your first week here and to help you get started down this new and exciting career path. Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old location, you know. Some people still have a somewhat negative impression of the company. That old restaurant was kind of left to rot for quite a while, but I want to reassure you, Fazbear Entertainment is committed to family fun and above all, safety.
The location that Phone Guy is referring to is the first Freddy's, where 6 kids were killed, and 5 of them stuffed into suits. After that had happened, the building was left to rot, till about 2 or 3 years later when the classic animatronics were moved to the new location to be used again, to no avail.
They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics.
Mommy.
Facial recognition, advanced mobility. They even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat? But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you. Now that being said, no new system is without its kinks. You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right?
Here Phone Guy tells us that another has worked there before the one listening now. That employee was undoubtedly William, and he actually had it easy compared to the nights we play in FNAF 2. At that point of time, only half of the animatronics were actually haunted, the withered animatronics and the puppet. And along with that, there was also the restless Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. It's likely since William was the one working the night shift, it disturbed all the spirits and created chaos.
Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office. Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on Earth. So while our engineers don't really have an explanation for this, the working theory is that the robots were never given a proper night mode. So when it gets quiet, they think they're in the wrong room. So then they go try to find where the people are, and in this case, that's your office. So our temporary solution is this. There's a music box over by the prize counter, and it's rigged to be wound up remotely. So just every once in a while, switch over to the prize counter video feed and wind it up for a few seconds. It doesn't seem to affect all of the animatronics, but it does affect one of them.
One funny characteristic about Phone Guy is how he continuously denies any supernatural activities, and always chalks the strange behaviors up to glitches. He's a very realistic kind of guy, which is why the puppet bothers him so much. He knows that it shouldn't be possible that the puppet can leave the prize corner and enter the office, since the puppet is not an animatronic and should only be able to move with his strings. It defies his logic, and thus disturbs him. Bringing up the puppet, let's discuss why she acts the way she does. And yes, I am referring to her as in William's wife. After she was killed, she possessed the puppet and became like a mother to the other wandering spirits. Why exactly does this tune keep her at bay? It's been a question we've all wanted answered for so long, and now it's obvious. It's possible this sweet little tune reminds her of her two beloved newborn babies, only months before her husband murdered her. It was a peaceful and prosperous time in her life. She didn't know her husband was a killer, and she didn't know her two children would die. It's quite sad.
And as for the rest of them, we have an even easier solution. You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system, something about robots seeing you as an endoskeleton without a costume on and wanting to stuff you into a suit. So hey, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on any time and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually anything that wandered in will wander back out. Something else worth mentioning is kind of the quirky modern design of the building. You may have noticed there are no doors for you to close. But hey, you have a light, and even though your flashlight can run out of power, the building cannot. So don't worry about the place going dark. Well, I think that's it. You should be golden. Check the lights, put on the Freddy head if you need to, keep the music box wound up, piece of cake. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you your first night wouldn't be a problem. You're a natural. By now I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know, and the smell. So the company decided to just go in a whole new direction and make them super kid-friendly.
As you can see here, Phone Guy does vaguely mention that the location was open before, but problems arose and it didn't last.
Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around, but if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever. I loved those old characters. Did you ever see Foxy the Pirate? Oh wait, Foxy. Oh yeah, Foxy. Hey listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy. If for some reason he activates during the night, and you see him standing at the far end of the hall, just flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold him in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models too. One more thing, don't forget the music box. I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking, and it can go anywhere. I don't think the Freddy mask will fool us, so just don't forget the music box. Anyway, I'm sure it won't be a problem. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hello? See, I told you wouldn't have any problems. Did Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Probably not. I was just curious. Like I said, he was always my favorite. They tried to remake Foxy, you know? They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly and put him in Kids Cove. To keep the toddlers entertained, you know. But kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. Eventually they just stopped trying and left him as some kind of take-apart, put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. I think the employees refer to him as just the mangle. Oh hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. Okay, well anyway, hang in there and I'll talk with you tomorrow.
Now Phone Guy tells us of some rumors going around. Tragic ones at that. Phone Guy tries to redirect it by saying it has nothing to do with Freddy's, and may not even be true. He also adds that the day shift guard hasn't reported anything unusual, just another reason to be suspicious of him.
Hello! Hey there, Night 4. I told you to get the hang of it. Okay, so, just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days, I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. It'll all get sorted out in a few days. Just keep an eye on things and I'll keep you posted.
Now we hear that the rumors have grown into an investigation, and it may cause the location to shut down for a short while. Once again, he reminds us that it has nothing to do with the company and is nothing too serious, although we know better.
Just as a side note though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics side if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems, we're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive towards the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. Anyway, hang tight, it'll all pass. Good night.
What Phone Guy says here makes it obvious. Some of
We don't have any more French toast sticks. We have a waffle today.
Fine.
Mommy's gonna go to the store, okay? It's just one day.
the toy animatronics are now haunted.
Okay.
Oh, hey, good job, Night 5. Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know. As especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available. We don't have a replacement for your shift yet, but we're working on it. We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down. So just get through one more night. Hang in there. Good night.
Now we find out that the building is on lockdown. This is a very telling part of the phone calls. We hear that the day shift guard is no longer working there, and it was very suspected that he was the one that killed the kids. Notice how he mentions wanting to contact the original owner of Fredbear's. It's a pretty strange thing to say out of the blue, but it's possible that they know the original owner had a run-in with missing children as well, so they may be looking into the company's history to track down the employee present for all of the kidnappings. If this is the case, William is in big trouble.
Hello? What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take a night shift myself.
Notice how Phone Guy says, a spare in the back. This makes it evident that Spring Bonnie and Spring Fredbear are no longer part of the picture, since they were sealed away already. The only yellow suit that was left was the old Fredbear. At this point, even Phone Guy has the details of the crime, so word is spreading like wildfire. William has been arrested under the suspicion of kidnappings, despite the fact that the bodies haven't been discovered. Now let's discuss what really happened during this time. We know that during the murders, William was a day shift guard, so he had the office all to himself, and he also most likely had to work up until the night shift guard came in at midnight. This was after hours, so he'd be there all alone. One could also make the argument that the day shift guard's hours end at closing, but that would still leave a gap of time of when William could be there alone before midnight. Realistically, a restaurant like Freddy's would close around 10 p.m. at the latest. During this gap of time, William can get away with just about anything. Near the end of the operating hours at Freddy's, William dressed in the Fredbear suit so he would be harder to identify, and was able to lure kids away. He didn't have the chance to use the safe room this time, since it was already sealed off. Instead, he most likely took them to the office we see in FNAF 2, since there aren't any cameras inside. The two newspapers about this incident and Phone Guy's calls paint a very clear picture about how things went down here. William used the same technique for each murder, but they did not all occur at the same time. This is because the newspaper states that he was arrested the next morning, but the phone calls begin with rumors that grow over time and become an investigation. How does that work? So I'll try and piece this together for you. The first time Phone Guy mentions rumors is during night 3, meaning that the latest William could have done something was during the evening of night 2, being June 24th, 1987. During this time, it's likely William murdered one child. This causes Mangle to become possessed. The next day, Mangle was most likely acting a bit different, and was on Phone Guy's mind, because he does mention her in the night 3 call, along with the rumors. The evening of June 25th, 2 more kids were killed, who possessed 2 of the toys. The call the next day talks about an investigation going on, and also notes that the toys have been acting.
Yeah. How much bites do I get of a waffle? I don't like it. It tastes sour.
You don't know what sour is then, okay? Because that does not taste like sour. Stop it. Okay?
Not school, I'm talking about.
Acting very unusual and even aggressive. On the evening of June 26th, 2 more children were killed, and William is caught on camera. The next morning, he was arrested. This perfectly lines up the calls and the newspapers. Sometimes after you die in FNAF 2, you'll be given this minigame to play. Notice how this was the location we were just talking about, and yet all of the bodies are present at the same time. This is not literal. Just like most minigames, those figures are not bodies, they're actually spirits. This also tells us that this is the night or evening of June 26th, since all 5 are present. In this game, you play as a spirit possessing Withered Freddy, hearing the words, "save them" and "save him" spelled out, as the puppet leads you around. Freddy is attempting to stop William. In most cases, he does not find him, but very rarely he will, who in turn easily shuts him down, most likely using the crank or tool he's holding. Now let's take a quick look at the 2 newspapers talking about this incident. Kids vanish at local pizzeria. Bodies are not found. 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th, while video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning. The children themselves were never found and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a mascot to earn the children's trust. 5 children now reported missing. Suspect convicted. 5 children are are now linked to the incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into the back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been fighting an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. It's a tragedy. As the newspaper states, the man has been convicted. Being convicted of a crime is to find that person guilty in a court of law. In other words, William is in prison. No, he didn't get away because the bodies weren't found. If that were the case, then the newspaper would have never said he was convicted. They would have only said that he was charged. William is in prison, and he's not going to get out. Not unless he breaks out. And this marks the last of William's murderous rampage. A few months later, in 1987, the location opens again after the murders, fighting the uphill battle as the newspaper stated. Phone Guy takes the night shift, as he said he would. Soon after, Jeremy Fitzgerald takes over and fills the position.
David, come on.
Hi. Eric.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I am so close to getting the sheep minion, Caden.
Cool.
And that means then I am done with all the animals, like animal minions, I think. Then I have to go into like Blaze and Gas to Magma Cube things, but I think the Magma Cube one I already have. So that one is done already anyways.
Okay. Right now I'm watching a Five Nights at Freddy full timeline story plus sister location.
That's nice.
And also in it, this kid said that like you know William, right, in the game?
Sure.
He was in the first restaurant. He killed a kid and put the body in his trunk, and then his wife saw that. So he killed his wife, and after that, the spirit of his wife got red, and she possessed the puppet.
Yeah, I know.
This is the character we play as when we play in FNAF 2. Jeremy somehow ends up listening to the previous tapes to learn about his job, and is welcomed into the family after making it through his 6 nights against the haunted animatronics. A few important characters to note here are Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. Shadow Bonnie is the aggressive one that crashes the game, a spirit of one of William's victims. And the harmless Shadow Freddy is the spirit of William's son. The only time we see him is sitting in the parts and service.
Enchanted cobblestone.
Look familiar? Also, JJ can be rarely seen under your desk, unmoving and doesn't harm you. This is the spirit from an earlier location that died at BB's Air Adventure. Another very important part of FNAF 2 are the mysterious paper pals. 3 characters made of plates and paper found hanging on the wall. These 3 characters represent William's 3 children. The one on the far left is William's daughter, a happy little girl, wearing pink and blue with buttons. The one in the middle is Michael, the one who suffered unrequited parental love from his father. His skin turned purple when he was taken over, and he was later trapped in a bunny suit. And the one on the far right, William's other son, the one he tried to protect but failed. He was killed by an animatronic bear and took the shadowy form of him. Sometimes in the nights of FNAF 2, the little girl paper plate can move into the office. Was this the puppets doing? Jeremy worked the night shift for 5 nights. At the end of them, he was given a check saying, "Welcome to the family," making it obvious he'd only just started working at Freddy's. Despite how dangerous the job was, Jeremy took the opportunity for overtime for an extra night, though this is not a decision he should have made. Sometime during that night, or possibly in the morning after his shift, Jeremy was bit by an animatronic on the head, causing immense damage. This was known as the Bite of 1987. Although there is not a clear culprit, it was one of the new animatronics, as the newspaper states, most likely being Mangle, who has the largest, most dangerous-looking jaw. And Mangle never passes on. Jeremy had to go through surgery and have his frontal lobe removed to save his life. After this, the job was left to a new employee named Fritz Smith. Fritz is working his first day according to the pink slip he is given directly after his shift. He's also employee number 3, making Phone Guy 1 and Jeremy 2. Fritz was fired because he tampered with the animatronics, and odor. It's likely Fritz was added to the game in order for us players to understand that Jeremy left. Directly after Fritz's night, the restaurant closed down from the Bite of 87. This newspaper will tell us a bit more about that. Freddy Fazbear's is closing.
My god, why is the game lagging so much?
Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is closing its doors. The new animatronics will be scrapped due to possible malfunctions. However, the original characters are being kept in hopes of a possible reorganization of the company. It's a minor setback.
I have one stack of enchanted cobblestone. I need one more, and then I can upgrade my
CEO Fazbear
to
Entertainment.
level 9.
When toy animatronics were taken apart and destroyed, the spirits were able to pass on. All except Mangle.
Yeah, to
Mangle
level 9.
remained restless. Not long after, Freddy's makes a comeback. The original characters were kept from the last location and refurbished into these characters: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. The old Fredbear suit was left behind, but its spirit was not. Surprisingly, this location is actually the same location that Fredbear's Family Diner was in. This location still houses the very old, very dangerous Spring Bonnie suit from Fredbear's in the sealed safe room. That'll be mentioned later on. A few years after this location was open, William was sitting in prison. He contacted his son Michael to do something for him. He told his son he needed to go save his younger sister, the girl that was killed inside of Baby. William believes that his daughter's soul may be attached to the baby animatronic, but actually, there is no proof of this idea. William probably started to believe it was a possibility when he found out about the other souls attached to his animatronics. Maybe she'd have a way of coming back. But this idea is actually wrong. The sister location animatronics later believed that William came back for his daughter and used it against him, speaking to who they thought was William with her voice, trying to draw him out of his office, or let them in to steal his skin. Michael agrees to what his father asks and goes to the underground facility. This is when sister location takes place. He enters the elevator and the automated job training begins. This was created by William, since he was extremely busy and couldn't train employees himself. The game blatantly tells us who we play,
Please enter your name as seen above the keypad.
this being Mike, a nickname for Michael. Of course, since the facility was left behind by William, repairs couldn't be made, though the animatronics are still being rented out by Fazbear Entertainment. Michael's goal is to get in contact with Baby safely and find out what he needs to do to fix her.
Wait, I think. Hold on, wait. No, never mind.
Baby is an incredibly smart robot and sees her chance to escape in Michael.
2 more.
Therefore, she protects
1
him
more.
and tells him she's on his side.
Yes, I have a stack.
I don't recognize you. You are new. I remember this scenario, however. It's a strange thing to want to do, to come here. I'm curious what events will lead a person to want to spend their nights in a place like this, willingly. Maybe curiosity, maybe ignorance. There is a space under the desk. Someone before you crafted it into a hiding place, and it worked for him. I recommend that you hurry, though. You will be safe there. Just try not to make eye contact.
Why is this lagging so much?
You will lose interest. When your guide comes back online, he is going to tell you that he was unsuccessful, that you must restart the system manually. He will then tell you to crawl through Ballora Gallery as fast as you can to reach the breaker room. If you follow his instructions, you will die. Ballora will not return to her stage anymore. She will catch you. The power will be restored shortly. When you crawl through Ballora Gallery, go slowly. She cannot see you and can only listen for your movement. When you hear her music become louder,
there, I have every animal mob minion.
Listening for you.
Like peaceful mob, I guess.
And be still.
During night 3, Baby kidnaps Michael.
Now I need to work on getting my ghast upgrade higher. But the best way to do that would probably be getting the Runin's bow or the hurricane bow. But that takes skeletons, and there's no dignified area for skeletons beside the spider's den. But more spiders spawn there than skeletons. So
I have you hidden.
I'm just gonna make sure I have enough arrows in my quiver. Yeah, I have enough.
I am only going
Where's my
to keep
bow?
you for
Wait,
a little
hold on.
while.
Never mind. I don't want to play on that. I want to play Minecraft modded.
You're inside something that came from my old pizzeria. I don't think it was ever used. At least not the way it was meant to be used. Too dangerous. It's just big enough for one person to fit inside, but just barely. You're in the scooping room. Do you know why they call it the scooping room? It's because, dummy, this is the room where they use the scooper.
Hayden.
I thought that would be obvious.
Wanna play Tekkit?
Sure, but I don't even know if I have it though. But and you said you didn't want to go on a server that was there before. Remember?
No, that was Tekkit. I'm talking about Tekkit Classic.
I don't know. I don't think I have it anymore. Hello?
Yeah.
Didn't hear you. I just said I don't think I have it anymore.
Yeah, I know. I said nothing. Let's see how much dark matter. Okay, nothing in there. How do I get night vision?
Okay,
like,
but,
why can't I barely
Eric,
see it all?
Eric, did you even ask your parents, like, if they can come?
Yes, I asked yesterday.
What did they say?
But the world anchor. What?
What did they say?
They said sure. They said maybe. What the heck?
Isn't that a fun name?
I have so much you matter.
It sounds like something you would use for ice cream, or custard, or sprinkles. It sounds like something you would want at your birthday party to ensure that you get a heaping portion of every good thing.
Oh, so Charlie's works with the.
I wonder, though.
Oh wait.
If you were a freshly opened pint of ice cream, how you would feel about.
I just have loads of red matter though. Then I can use dark matter to get more red matter. I'm in the 90s, Queen. I'm in the 90s. I'm part of one of the first sitcoms. Dark matter furnace. Ooh. I forgot Charlie had dark matter furnace in his
I don't
generators.
think a freshly opened pint of ice cream feels anything at all. Uh-oh. It sounds like someone else is in the building.
Why is it all...
Okay, bring her over. Forward. One. More. Okay, stop. Set it down. Watch the step.
What happened to it this time? Just seems like these things can't go a day without breaking down.
Who knows? It's always the same thing. Kind of hard.
Well, mine's the fastest. It
I'd be
didn't
something like
generate
that
at
in
all
minutes.
because
That's what they
for
say
some
about
reason.
computers. Can we just get this over with?
It's all automated. We don't have to be here for it. Just get her on the rollers and we can go.
Becoming my dark matter pedestals were regenerating. Oh wait, they generate fast.
There's something very important that I've learned how to do over time. Do you know what that is? How to pretend. Do you ever play make-believe? Pretend to be one way when you are really the other. It's very important.
Oh, that
Ballora
gave me the
never
same.
learns, but I do. They think there is something wrong on the
But
inside.
none of that. Wait.
The
Oh,
only thing that
dark matter
matters
generated here.
is knowing
That one.
how to pretend. I'll open the faceplates for you. That way they can find you on the cameras. Now all you have to do is wait. I'd recommend that you keep the spring locks wound up. Your breathing and your heartbeat are causing them to come loose. You don't want them to get too loose. Trust me.
She lets him go. We don't have a for sure reason why.
This is so much red matter. Let's just make a surge of energy by putting some red matter in there. Okay. Oh, okay. That happened. Okay. So the more... Okay. There we go. Now I have a little blaze rod, which then I can put in the machine. Which are pretty easy to get, blaze rods. I'm in the 90s, Queen. I'm in the 90s. I'm part of one of the first sitcoms. Hi. Good. What's wrong? And indulgence. I'm talking to you who wants to know when.
Oh, did you get my text? Not here. $25.
Almost 7. I know.
One penny ticket was $11.
Hmm.
$11. I'm like, if I knew, I would take one for my kids and nobody. For $25? For a kid?
Oh.
This is, but it's likely Baby was checking to see if Michael was the right size to use. The next evening, Baby kills the 2 technicians so they don't interfere with her plans for the night.
Please be aware that there are still 2 technicians on site today. Try to avoid interfering with their work if possible. Also, feel free to ask them why they are still there and encourage them to go home.
They are seen hung above the stages. This way, Hand Unit detects objects on the stage and thinks everything is as it should be.
Great. Now let's check on Funtime Foxy. Great. It looks like everything is as it should be in Funtime Auditorium. Your task today will involve more maintenance work. Circus Baby had a rough day and is in need of repair.
Michael goes to fix Baby, as he's told. When he arrives, it turns out Baby was only faking it. Here, Baby tells Michael how he can help save her.
Motion trigger, parts and service.
Great job reaching parts and service. Circus Baby has been deactivated for an unknown reason. It's your job to make sure she is structurally stable and secured to the conveyor. Our technicians will take it from there.
Can you hear me? I'm pretending. Remember how I said I could pretend? The cameras are watching. I must be careful not to move. Something bad happened yesterday. Something bad always happens. I don't want it to happen again. There is something bad inside of me. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. I'm going to be taken to the scooping room soon, but it's not going to fix what's wrong with me. What is bad is always left behind. Will you help me? I want you to save what is good, so the rest can be destroyed and never recovered. But you must be careful. Ballora is here, in the room with us. Ballora will not return to her stage. Ballora will not return to her body. You must be careful. You must remain calm and listen to my voice. There is a button on my cheek. You must find it and press it. There is a passcode that you must enter before you can retrieve me. Enter the code carefully. 2. Good. A hatch should have opened. Take the card that you find inside. Now you must turn back. I will guide you through Funtime Auditorium so you can reach the scooping room. When you are there, I want you to destroy this body. Put the card into your handheld device, and I can continue to speak to you. Now, press the green button to your left. This will send me to the scooping room. Ballora is going to follow you. She will try to catch you. I will help you avoid her. She will not follow you inside the scooping room. She is afraid. Go back now.
Warning, you've entered a highly dangerous area. You have entered from Maintenance Hatch 1B, reserved for cleaning and repair of the scooper. Entering this side of the room is strictly prohibited by unauthorized personnel.
You are in the scooping room now. Funtime Foxy has already been here today. Funtime Freddy has already been here today. Ballora has already been here today. Circus Baby has already been here today. I've been out before, but they always put me back. They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here. There is nowhere to go when we look like this. But if we looked like you, then we could hide. If we looked like you, then we would have somewhere to go. The scooper only hurts for a moment.
She refers to Circus Baby as another entity, disconnecting herself from the animatronic. Michael is scooped, and the Ennard, a mashup of the other animatronic's endoskeletons, take over his body, with Baby in control. They escape the underground facility. And then most of Ennard bails from Michael's body into the sewer. Baby still controls Michael and tells him he won't die. From there, Baby goes to Freddy's and takes the night shift job under the name Mike Schmidt, the body she's inside. She was going to free all of the endoskeletons from their locations. It's likely she believed they'd be intelligent like she was. During these nights, she hears training tapes Phone Guy had made a week earlier.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact, so I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about. You'll be fine. So let's just focus on getting you through your first week, okay? Let's see. First, there's an introductory greeting from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death have occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah. Now, that might sound bad, I know, but there's really nothing to worry about. The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No. If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, I'd probably be a bit irritable at night too. So remember, these characters hold a special place in the hearts of children and we need to show them a little respect, right? Okay. So just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know? Now, concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up. But hey, first station of the breeze. I'll chat with you tomorrow. Check those cameras and remember to close the doors only if absolutely necessary. Gotta conserve power. Alright, good night.
As you could hear, Fazbear Entertainment came up with a reason as to why the animatronics kill people at night, but this is most likely not why. The animatronics are haunted and restless.
Hello? Hello? Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats. I won't talk quite as long this time since Freddy and his friends tend to become more active as the week progresses. It might be a good idea to peek at those cameras while I talk, just to make sure everyone's in their proper place, you know. Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. I've heard he becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right? I also want to emphasize the importance of using your door lights. There are blind spots in your camera views, and those blind spots happen to be right outside your doors. So if you can't find something or someone on your cameras, be sure to check the door lights. You might only have a few seconds to react. Not that you would be in any danger, of course. I'm not implying that. Also, check on the curtain in Pirate Cove from time to time. The character in there seems unique in that he becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time. I guess he doesn't like being watched. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure you have everything under control. Talk to you soon. Hello. Hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant. Anyway, I better not take up too much of your time. Things start getting real tonight. Hey, listen, I had an idea. If you happen to get caught and want to avoid getting stuffed into a Freddy suit, try playing dead. You know, go limp. Then there's a chance that maybe they'll think that you're an empty costume instead. Then again, if they think you're an empty costume, they might try to stuff a metal skeleton into you. I wonder how that would work. Yeah, never mind. Scratch that. It's best just not to get caught. Okay, I'll leave you to it. See you on the flip side. Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you can check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh
no. After that call, we never hear of Phone Guy ever again. He was stuffed into a suit and killed. The next night, we hear the garble of the haunted animatronics. After the 5th night, Baby receives her paycheck and is considered a valued employee. It's probably unlikely that Freddy's has night guards that stay. After another night of work, Baby gets another paycheck for overtime work and is considered Employee of the Month. Sometime after this, Baby works another night, but during this night, tampers with the animatronics, probably trying to understand more about the endoskeletons of these ones. By now, Mike's skin is rotting and smells. The next morning, she's fired.
Oh, you're dressed.
Instead of risking being caught...
What?
You're dressed.
I know.
Good job.
Baby waits until the restaurant is closed down to return. She noticed a newspaper while she had been working. Local pizzeria said to close by year's end. After a long struggle to stay in business after the tragic events that struck there many years ago, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has announced that it will close by year's end. Despite a year-long search for a buyer, companies seem unwilling to be associated with the company. These characters will live on.
Yes,
In the
I am
hearts of
here.
these kids, these characters will live on. CEO. Seeing as how Baby's paycheck was for November, the end of the year was very soon. Once the location was finally closed up tight, Baby returns, hiding in the newly ripped open safe room that the animatronics couldn't enter, and dismantles them one by one. Shadow Freddy is also there, the spirit of William's bullied son. When he sees what appears to be another fake Michael, like what killed him, he's enraged and tells the animatronics to attack him. But this proves to be useless, as Baby easily tears them to pieces. Unknowingly, she released the spirits of the dead children, and the spirit who usually appears as Golden Freddy joins them as they torment her. She hides in Spring Bonnie, thinking she knew everything she needed to know about this type of suit. But the roof was leaking, and cold winter rain was coming through. This moisture breaks the spring locks loose and crushes her like a garbage compactor. After this, Shadow Freddy was able to pass on, after seemingly ending the life of the one who killed him. But the other spirits were not able to. Instead, they remained with the puppet, still restless. Baby was broken and lost control of Michael's body. Sometime after this, the owner of the building returned to remove the animatronics and found them in pieces. Once the safe room was found to be torn open, it was boarded up again for liability purposes, and the building was left again, this time for good. 30 years after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed its doors, the events that took place there have become nothing more than a rumor and a childhood memory. But the owners of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction, are determined to revive the legend and make the experience as authentic as possible for patrons, going to great lengths to find anything that might have survived the decades of neglect and ruin. A night guard is hired for this horror attraction, someone we don't learn the name of.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time. We found some great new relics over the weekend, and we're out tracking down a new lead right now. So, let me just update you real quick, then you can get to work. Like, the attraction opens in like a week, so we have to make sure everything works and nothing catches on fire. When the place opens, people will come in at the opposite end of the building and work their way toward you, then past you and out the exit. Yeah, you've officially become part of the attraction. You'll be starring as a security guard. So not only will you be monitoring the people on the camera as they pass through, you know, to make sure no one steals anything or makes out in the corner, but you'll also be a part of the show. It'll make it feel really authentic, I think. Now let me tell you about what's new. We found another set of drawings, always nice, and a foxy head, which we think could be authentic. Then again, it might just be another crappy cosplay. And we found a desk fan, very old school, metal though. Watch the fingers. Right now the place is basically just, you know, flashing lights and spooky props. I honestly thought we'd have more by now. If we don't have something really cool by next week, then we may have to suit you up in a furry suit and make you walk around saying,
well, I'm not.
But, you know, like I said, we're trying to track down a good lead right now. Some guy who helped design one of the buildings says it was like an extra room that got boarded up, or something like that. So, we're gonna take a peek and see what we can find. For now, just get comfortable with the new setup. You can check the security cameras over to your right with the click of that blue button. You can toggle between the hall cams and the vent cams. Then over to your far left, you can flip up your maintenance panel. You know, use this to reboot any systems that may go offline. In trying to make the place feel vintage, we may have overdone it a bit.
Hayden, I'm gonna leave the call, I guess, because, you won't unmute yourself and we're not doing anything anyways.
The most important thing you want to watch
See ya.
for is the
Bye.
ventilation. Look, this place will give you the spooks, man, and if you let that ventilation go offline, then you'll start seeing some crazy stuff, man. Keep that air blowing. Okay, keep an eye on things, and we'll try to have something new for you tomorrow night.
As the recording mentioned, one of the people running the attraction is going to check out a room that got boarded up. The one he opens is the one that had the broken spring suit, with Baby and Michael inside, now known as Springtrap. Over time, Michael woke up inside of Springtrap, since Baby was broken and no longer in control. He was confused.
Hey man, okay, I have some awesome news for you. First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric. I think they were like training tapes for like other employees or something like that. So I thought we could like have them playing like over the speakers as people walk through the attraction. Dude, that makes us feel legit, man. But I have an even better surprise for you. And you're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. Gotta go, man. Well, look, it's in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it. Okay, I'll leave you with some of this great audio that I found. Talk to you later, man.
That's the last we hear of Phone Dude. He mentions finding a real one, in which he means a real animatronic, being Springtrap. He suddenly finishes up his call, sounding rushed. It's impossible to really know what happened to him, and why he never calls back. But it's very likely that he was killed when Michael was attempting to escape. Rarely during the nights in FNAF 3, the Michael paper pal will move onto the wall. Springtrap tries to get into the security guard's office to kill the guard and escape the building. Meanwhile, the puppet has returned. William's dead and resting.
What?
What Thursday? Where's China?
What'd you say?
We're gonna be leaving in a couple minutes.
His wife.
Hey! You want Eric to come over?
Yeah.
Stop it, okay?
She hates the idea of Freddy's being revived, even in this completely different form. To her, the place was like a morgue. There was only one thing she wanted to do: burn it down. She gave the night guard horrible hallucinations in order to scare him away. After a few nights, she manages to burn the place down, also destroying her puppet body in the fire. Sister Location once again parallels this with the TV show.
As the trees sway in the wind, so also do emotions sway between star-crossed lovers.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there.
I may be undead, but you're heartless.
You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Speaking of which, Springtrap was not destroyed in the fire. He managed to escape.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
Here Michael mentions Sister Location in the underground facility, talking about the job William sent his son to do.
They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
Notice Michael's reaction when he talks about the animatronics mistaking him for his father. All his life, William had denied Michael as being his son. He must feel so hurt.
And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
And that's it. That's the end of Michael and William's story from what we know. Hopefully in the next game we'll see how this plays out. It's possible William is still in prison, unless he's escaped, or somehow was let free. As for the dead children and the restless puppet, their story does come to an end. After burning in the fire, the puppet is finally at peace. Freddy's was gone, and gone forever. No more pain can come to the children. She goes to them and helps them pass on. In doing this, the puppet passes on as well. The other minigames seen in FNAF 3 show the passing of the other restless spirits we've seen. In Mangle's quest, Mangle recollects herself and goes past the puppet who trapped the spirit, finally passing on. Now we see BB's air adventure, where 4 children had died, one of them being Restless, who had possessed JJ. Here that spirit is able to pass on.
Aiden!
It's almost
In
over!
Chica's party, the spirit who died there was also able to pass on. Same as in Stage 01, the child who had died at Fredbear's Family Diner moved on. Through this minigame, we could see the passing of Shadow Bonnie, the employee that was murdered by William. The pain and suffering of the children was finally over. Will Michael have that happy ending someday as well?
Coming!
Listen. Hey, go sit down with the donut, please. What's the chef for? What?
Since when was I live?